It's just that, just seeing people laying dead on the street. Everywhere we turn, it was just violence, and it was just chaotic, like every day, every second. And this was somewhere where we stayed at, and it became our environment.
A lot of people got hurt and killed that day. And if I had to stay there, I could have been one of those people.
You know, we used to go on the roof and just wish that like we wasn't born in this environment. When we started to question God, like why? Because at that point, we just didn't understand.
You think that would be enough, but I've been to penitentiary 7 times. And that 7th time was literally enough.
This particular night that we were in the car together, I just was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of being afraid. I can't get away from him. I just rather die. And I'd rather do it myself than let him do it. And so he grabbed me, and then I hit him. And before he can hit me back, I just opened the door and just jumped out.
I've been lost, I've been lost, I've been lost, I've been lost for a while.
Just trying to play basketball and, trying to stay in the sports and stuff like that. But I was just leaning more towards the street. So I pretty much got into the gang experience and started selling drugs. Just trying to be better people, but it's just the environment. People dying, people getting killed, like in front of me. It was just everywhere I go, every day, all the time, just funerals and death and violence and things like that.
When I was in relationship with certain guys, I felt like life was okay. I felt like things were better because they loved me, they made me feel complete. But then those type of relationships were bad. They came along with other things like domestic abuse. And the last relationship that I was in before my marriage was like the worst of them all. I would rather had died than to live and keep being abused and to keep living afraid and just keep going around in circles. Like I would drink, I would party, I would do all these things to try to mask the pain and try to just cope with life. That's when I realized like, hey, I need to do something different has to happen. The only thing about it is I didn't know how to make it happen. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what it meant to have something better.
And so at that point, I needed a change. There was no hope. There was nowhere to go.
I just didn't know where to go.
It went from asking God, like, why, to just praying to God to just, remove this depression, this anger that I have inside of me, this resentment that I have. Take the hurt that I was doing to myself and to give me peace.
I remember saying, Lord, I remember this church I went to. I got to go to church.
And so when I walked down there were ICCM members, and they were very welcoming, they were very loving, they were not judgmental, they didn't care. I know it smelled like alcohol, but they didn't care. They were just like, hey, come on, let me pray for you. And so that kind of stuck with me. And in my heart that day, I was just like, man, whatever it is that they got going on, I want that,
I walked into the doors. I pretty much crawled in there because I wanted to be a better person, but I just didn't know what that looked like, and I was missing. The component that I was missing was God.
I felt somebody had to pastor these people that were out on the streets, because how would they know?
My first experience was when Pastor Monica was speaking directly, when she was preaching, she was speaking directly to me. It still feels like that now.
She preached about, it really just made me feel like I was worthy of something different, like I could do something different. I've never really had that type of encouragement before to make me feel like I could do something different than what I was doing, and my situation didn't have to be my situation. So I felt home. I felt like this is where I'm supposed to be.
And they're going to become people who change the lives of others. We know that God can change people from takers to givers. Through discipleship, they can become reliable, dependable, sustainable, builders of our community.
Isaiah 58:12, your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. That's been our life for the last 30 years, restoring broken buildings, restoring broken people. They seem to go together. That's what God has called us to, restoration, not only of people, but also of some of the buildings to house his people in.